one.
Yeah, that was Thursday when I drove
I
home.
just kept it before dark
Yeah.
because after I drink
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been, I was in Prattsburg and
Yeah, up in the
I was
morning.
coming up 53 and I usually come up over Daily Hill. We were coming to Prattsburg and I was looking for anywhere to park my wife's new car. And I did, I dived in this park and there's parking what we were and all the hair. Because everybody was parking under the gas station. Yeah, it was there. Yeah, I go, I don't even want to look at the car, but we were lucky. But then I went 53 towards Naples instead of going on over Daily Hill. And then the storm went that way, we went this way, around Candy Road. We just watched it. As we were on 21, you could just see it rolling, yeah. Over the lake. I was like, man, that was pretty fun. Because usually I go through Middlesex, come up through Rushville, go over George Fresh Hour, and then cut over to our house. But I took a longer
Port
way.
Gibson,
Yeah.
Campier Road.
Yeah. But I took the longer way. But we missed the rest of the storm. But man, it was raining hard. But I didn't know any of that until we picked our dog up in Manchester. And she was like, somewhere somewhere place with a P in Prattsburg. Cause man, it was awful dark. Where we were, somewhere in that area. We were.
So we were five, actually it's a 10, but around the side of five, we were the fourth wave over. So there wasn't
I
anything
just
off.
met in Stonehenge, did you know, she around your age, Donna Wilson? Donna Wilson,
We're not gonna change lanes.
but she graduated years
They
later.
can't see us anymore than we can see.
Mary Flingo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that happened to me going back.
I
We were
think it's
hour
weird,
from,
brother.
I'm Rhode Island, North St.
Was it Tim? No.
And all of a sudden it was storming so bad. I turned my four-ways on. It's like the person in front of me, so that they knew where we were. Because you couldn't see, like you said.
could not see.
Like their blades were going, I've never seen rain that hard. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
It's hard.
And then it ended. We were following it. The way we were going. I think we're on 70 or 17.
Someone try to close the door.
I think that left open. Yeah, I think it's good. I was trying to get that. Trying to get that.
No, I know what, try to close it now or, I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me.
All right, everyone, 6:30. I'm gonna call the meeting to order here, Monday, June 9th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Herman?
Here.
Councilman Longo?
Here.
Councilman Kramer?
Here.
Councilwoman Taylor?
Here.
Supervisor Jones?
Yeah, here. Please all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, we have two public hearings tonight. The first one on is for the unappropriated fund balance for legal expenses. The clerk of the board will read off legal notice.
Legal notice, Town of Marion, notice of public hearing, unappropriated fund balance. Notice is hereby given that the Marion Town Board will meet and hold a public hearing for the purpose of authorizing the use of unappropriated fund balance for the purpose of legal expenses. Further notice is hereby given that the public hearing will be held on Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the Marion Courtroom, 3827 North Main Street, at which time all persons will be heard in favor or against any items therein contained. By order of the Marion Town Board, Heidi Levan, Clerk of the Board, Town Clerk. This was posted in the paper on May 28th, 2025.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open it for public comment or question. Any public comment or question? Public comment or question? Close the public hearing. Second public hearing on for tonight is for the sewer reserve funds to decommission the wastewater treatment plant. Clerk of Board, read off legal notice.
Legal notice, Town of Marion, notice of public hearing, sewer reserve funds. Notice is hereby given that the Marion Town Board will meet and hold a public hearing for the purpose of authorizing the appropriation of an amount not to exceed $16,000 from the sewer reserve fund for the purpose of decommissioning the Marion wastewater treatment plant. Further notice is hereby given that the public hearing will be held on Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the Marion Courtroom, 3827 North Main Street, at which time all persons will be heard in favor or against any items therein contained. By order of the Marion Town Board, Heidi Levin, Clerk of the Board, Town Clerk, again dated May 28th, 2025.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up for public comment or questions.
Just for clarification, we will have a resolution tonight for Lobella to remove one 500-gallon fuel tank for a cost of $10,600 as part of the Marion Sewer Plant decommissioning. We will have a resolution in our next meeting, a survey to evaluate the possibility of hazard in the lab building. Once the survey is complete, then we'll develop a plan for removing the building. Clarification.
Thank you.
Any other public comments or questions? Public comments or questions? Okay. Close the meeting. Moving on to our discussions. Discussion number one, I just wanted to give a brief summary of a meeting that I had with Congresswoman Tenney's office. Congresswoman Tenney had reached out to all the supervisors across the county looking to have her community outreach staff member meet with each supervisor to kind of go over what they do in their office, their local office in Canandaigua, not DC. He came out, I met with him, his name was Josh, nice young professional. Pretty much the gist of it is, them letting Marion know, and then so we can let our residents know that if also we had any issues with a federal agency, Veteran Affairs, IRS, HHS, anything like that, that they could be the go-between to help solve some of those issues for us. Also on a larger scale, they let me know that as a municipality, we can also reach out to her office for any, communication issues that we would be facing with the federal government at the same time. But that was pretty much the gist of his visit, just letting me know why they're there and what they're doing. And then he wanted to know a couple local events happening here in Marion throughout the year that maybe Congresswoman Tenney would be interested in attending. So I gave him the Pioneer Gas Engine Show information along with the Fall Festival information and our holiday parade. So it was short and sweet, about 20 minutes, and he was off to the next meeting. So that was the blip of Congresswoman Tenney's presence there. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Discussion with the Bonadio Group. Congresswoman Tabor placed this.
Ask participated in that as well as myself, and so I did up some notes, and and then I'll have copies for everybody. I'll hand out too. So
Can I have a copy while you go through?
yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So on Monday, June 2nd, Brad Hazenauer from the Bonadio Group met with Summer and myself virtually. Listened to questions that Summer brought up that were from the board about the risk assessment report. Some things that he shared with us is that what we saw from Marion's assessment is not something we haven't seen in other towns. Cash handled info from Heidi and the language on small towns boilerplate Bonadio uses on assessments. And that was, I think from the perspective is in the risk assessment is that statement about small municipalities that is throughout the assessment. And so I brought that up, like, is Marion unique? And he reiterated that no, it's boilerplate that they use for municipalities where that fits. Tim Werman from the Highway Department was interviewed, however, he was added late to the interview list with Brad and his team. Brad suggested that it was good to have a process and written policy on record for the budget. Suggested fiscal management in municipalities. Summer indicated she will be promoting this. Brad agreed and indicated it offered more people to have knowledge on finances. Brad suggested more leveraging of technology. Summer followed up with the questions Councilman Kramer posed about the policy book, indicating that it was reviewed by an outside entity. Inquired about outdated policies, specifically policies that Bonadio is looking for. Summer then shared that she reviewed various policy procedures in place and noticed that some are over 14 years. That includes code of nepotism, procurement policy, and lower policy. Brett said Brett will be working on that. Summer asked about this policy. They have Brad stated not necessarily budgeting day-to-day processes are documented somewhere. Top-down review of board and policy procedures annually. We may have policies that are required but that are not in place. Brad indicated human nature suggests they're okay because we've been doing it this way forever. This is my translation of it. It's in the note write-up, but Brad didn't say this. Really about to see better training things are bad in the Williamson Law Book. Suggested to look at backing up Kathy's information, asked about Kathy's backup, online cloud-based for accounting backup connected to the internet. Daily backup should be the least, have a policy and procedure on this topic. Page 11 of the risk assessment, risk of error when a person does numbers manually and transferring info versus putting it into software. Making sure there is oversight, resolution by the board, input by another, risk of someone inputting into software. In the process of cross-training to cover for Kathy, the top priority discussions have included looking at current staffing workload, hiring a part-time payroll clerk, get bids from outside companies to get an HR system in place, having a place to track time off in real time. Brad indicated the need for someone to be able to understand the New York State retirement system. Being able to handle payroll in-house is riskier, increased room for human error. Summer stated that the IT is the big effect of reviewing the report. We don't have capacity for IT infrastructure, it's a big lift. Brad stated that he has a contact at SoftPoint. He could reach out to meet with the board for at the very least a consultation and recommendations moving forward. He can give a general basis of what costs would be. Cloud backup, Brad sees that as a priority. Summer asked what was needed from Brad for the final report. Brad had no more information needed. He did state out of all the town clerks he has worked with, Heidi is the most prepared clerk he's seen. And this is where I just asked about the statement throughout the draft referencing small municipalities. He said it's a standard statement used especially with small towns. And then he provided this analogy that is very common to identify the capacity of a small town to a speedboat compared to a cruise ship. A speedboat can move through processes quicker because it's smaller versus having a lot more things to manage as in a cruise ship. Suggestion to bring in different mindsets to discuss how to improve it. A cohesive team drives efficiency. Having a team discussion on how to create efficiency with others to bring more input into conversations when we're taking a look at things. And here we go, Ron. If you want to pass those down, please. So those are just my notes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to add because you were on the call?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much a, overview of the whole risk assessment as a whole, how that was felt. I think it's important to move forward with getting some recommendations from his IT sources, for sure. I struggle, every day I struggle with the fact that, if something was to happen with our IT infrastructure here, that it would be chaos. So, I think that's really important moving forward to focus on, as well as, looking at these policies that are, we need updated. He focused on, it's not that we don't have the policies in place, what happens is we're not keeping up with state law and federal law. So, you know, he said for like the drug use policy, for example, cannabis is now legal. And so, you know, our drug policy tests for marijuana and things like that, and he says, you know, state law has changed, so we have to like update the policy and make sure you're getting accurate information out to the employees. That was just an example that he used there. So, you know, moving forward with that, there's a lot. I think it is a heavy lift, and, you know, if we can all agree to, you know, focus maybe on the IT infrastructure, and trickle in some HR payroll stuff with Kathy, I think would be great, and move that forward, to make things just a little safer for Mary. But yeah, it was a good meeting. He's gonna issue the final report. As soon as his supervisor, like, 10 people have to review it in order to sign off on it, so as soon as he sends that up for change, we'll have the final report published on our website.
Thank you.
Okay, that leads us to discussion number 3, office backup, Councilman Bonneville.
Yes, after our last meeting, I'd like to thank a very productive group of employees led by Kathy Cowles for developing a plan to back up our account clerk. Kathy contacted many surrounding towns about this issue and found out that some towns had no backup plan and others used their deputy town clerk. With that, they have suggested looking through the town clerk's office, our deputy town clerk, Heidi Jarvis, account clerk's position can now be covered in her absence.
When was this discussion here?
Under this discussion, we had it because it was on the docket.
Well,
It's non-presenting tonight, so that's the discussion that we can discuss.
Hold on. It has to go in the middle.
The downpour.
It's all that.
It's coming.
thank you, I'm referring to the discussion between the clerk's office, Kathy, and who else? Yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so,
I said it was a discussion that if a backup was needed,
yeah, I just, you know, an email or invite to that discussion, you know, from being in the office would have been really helpful, just because I was also making plans to meet with Kathy to discuss potential backups, so if the work's already done and I'm already planning it, then like, it's just nice to know that like, those discussions were already had based off the meeting.
That's why I'm presenting it tonight. We just developed this plan and we're gonna get it on the table, so everybody cool with that.
Okay.
I don't think it's a bad idea, however, party such as a part-timer who trained for 10 weeks or whatever, then 2 days a month or scheduled vacations only because it's another line of operation. I want to payroll, but
Our town office.
and I, you know,
Well, I think in that round too, that we need to be talking about how are we gonna monitor the efficiency of how that process is going, if Heidi's gonna be doing it. I mean, that makes sense, not to think, okay, Heidi will do it, no. I also just wanna say, cause it made me think of something else that that came up when we met, by having an outside takes away from the account, actually her own payroll. Not that I think there's any suspicions around that.
no, right, but I
decreases
think
the
that's
risk.
a set of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not affiliated, that's just thought process, but I think we need to get
Yeah.
numbers, the availability of part-time person, these hours, month, or however. we want to do it.
And I know, I think Kathy already has some, and I get a good idea of how long that takes because she was already tracking it for the library project.
All right.
Yeah, so I think we already, like, it'd be easy to come up with numbers of what we're looking at. But that was a concern, you know, with the meeting with Brad was, you know, we can't have employees checking off their own time card.
No, I agree,
processing it,
you know, and, you know,
We'll cover goes out, the boss doesn't solve part 2 of the payroll problem. You know, it's kind of a and I would hate I think we have, between Adrian and Nikki, me, depending on workload and, altitude, I think we have, that's just my thinking. And I was, I was not there, cover.
We'll hope to see, like, I can't legally do it.
Right.
Right.
I'm not sure you can legally do it either, because you signed a check.
Well, Kim Leonard does a massive for a long
She was
time.
their principal counselor long
Right.
before she became a
So
supervisor.
that's supervisors. I think the way around it is the deputy clerk signs the checks.
Deputy supervisor, you mean?
Yeah, deputy supervisor, right? But she is now since, to Councilman Kramer's point, she is now since hired part-time town clerk to get around it. She was doing it for a while because of the short staff, you gotta do what you gotta do. But
I would like to say that I would like to see discussions had, I think about 2 years ago when I started running for the board and I would come to meetings and they had the workshops where actual conversations happened and then the meetings and such. Because one of the things that I feel not challenged by, but I struggle with is we've talked about protocols and policies or policies and procedures, and we've put some things in place, but we're not following up with them and there's gaps. There's, we have a hiring protocol that we put in place that there was a lot of rhetoric about, and people have not been onboarded within what's identified in there within the 2-week time frame of being approved by the board. It's in my report for Parks and Rec, but I'm working on the job description for basketball because there's never been an interview for that. So I would like to see that if we're gonna put things in place, let's talk about how we're gonna monitor it, how we're gonna ensure that we're following things and that we're holding ourselves accountable and each other, and that goes back and forth with the communication for everybody.